Hello, my name is Professor Deb Eisenberg from the University of Maryland Francis King Carey School of Law and the Workplace Mediation Project. And this video will provide a short introduction to something mediators call reflections or reflective listening. Others may call it empathic listening or emotional labeling or active listening. And we all think that we are good listeners, but reflective listening is a different type of skill and it takes some practice. And I like to think of the Chinese character of the verb to listen when I am in the mediator role or doing reflective listening in my personal or professional life. And this means that listening is a full body experience. You're listening not only to the actual words or facts that the person is saying, but you're also trying to get a sense of how is a person feeling about the situation that is being described? What's important to this person? And what is it that this person needs to talk about? What are the issues or topics that this person needs to talk about, negotiate, or resolve in order to move forward in this particular situation? And there are many blocks to active listening. And we do these in our daily lives, but in a mediation setting, conflict situation where you're trying to do reflective listening, these blocks can be very harmful or get in the way of actually getting to a negotiation or getting to conflict resolution. And one block is sympathy. So saying that you understand how they feel can get in the way, can make the person feel like you don't really understand where they're coming from because only the speaker knows exactly how they feel. Giving advice, jumping to advice, even though we want to be helpful, can also make the speaker feel that you're not really listening to their perspective. Judging, ordering, diagnosing, telling someone what to do, or saying something like, oh, that must be so horrible, that gets in the way. That is not a reflection. And being defensive. This is something that in a conflict situation or we're trying to solve a problem, we often get defensive. When someone else is listening, we are thinking about how we are going to oppose what the person is saying rather than really focusing on what the speaker is saying and what their perspective is. And so reflective listening is like holding up a mirror. So you listen to what the person is saying and you're just going to reflect it back. And this type of reflective listening can help the speaker feel validated, respected, and heard. Right? It shows that you're trying to understand their perspective. It also gives them a chance to clarify. If you don't get the reflection exactly right, it allows them to step in to clarify or to elaborate. And a third benefit of a reflection is if you are in a group situation or you are a mediator, if you are reflecting what someone is saying, the other people in the room may be able to hear it better because it is coming out of the mouth of a third party neutral. And so to do reflective listening as a mediator would, there are three things that we listen for. One is the emotions. How is the person feeling about the situation that he or she is describing? And this is called emotional labeling. You're just listening for what's the emotional content that the speaker is talking about. So for example, if someone says, she's constantly interrupting me and I can't stand it anymore, the underlying emotion might be, sounds like you're feeling ignored, or, oh, you're pretty fed up that you keep getting interrupted. The second thing that mediators listen for is values. What is important to the speaker? And these underlying values are often described in negative terms. And the value is the opposite, the positive framing of whatever is being described. So for example, if a speaker says, they left me out of the meeting and made the decision without my input, the underlying value, what's important to that person, might be inclusion in the decision-making or collaboration or teamwork. Another thing that mediators listen for is what needs to be discussed. What are the issues or the topics that need to be discussed to address this problem, to negotiate a resolution, or to make a plan for the future? And so let's do a practice. Here's a situation. Let's say Monique comes to you and says this: Jim never answers emails, and I have to spend so much time following up to make sure he finishes his part of the project on time, and it's just exhausting. He holds up the entire team, and we have to rush to finish the project because of his procrastination getting the numbers to us. So take a moment, pause the video, and see if you can identify what are the feelings that Monique is expressing here, what are the values, what's important to her, and what are the topics that would need to be discussed if you were a mediator or, say, a coworker or supervisor facilitating this conversation between Monique and Jim. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you took some time to think about it. What I heard from Monique's statement is that she's feeling exhausted. She's feeling rushed and concerned about the project. What she values is timeliness, responsiveness, and teamwork. And the topics that need to be addressed between Monique and Jim are workflow, communication, and project timeline. So to reflect that back, I might say, if Monique says this, I might say, Monique, it sounds like you're pretty exhausted and you're concerned about completion of this project. It sounds like timeliness and meeting deadlines are very important to you, and we may need to have a discussion with Jim and you about the flow of communication and the project timelines. Something like that. It's a forgiving process. If you don't get it exactly right, again, one of the benefits of the reflection is that the person will correct you. Now, when my mediation clinic students at the law school learn reflections, they not only use them in mediations and in legal contexts, they also find that they help their personal lives. And so let's give another example from a personal situation. Let's say your significant other says this: I'm so tired of Zoom calls. My whole body aches and my mind is numb, and I haven't been able to exercise this week. There's just not enough time in the day. Take a minute, pause the video. What are the feelings, the values, the issues here? Okay, so some of you may have heard this before in your own houses, and I would advise you that for reflective listening, the answer should not be, oh, well, maybe you should wake up at 5 in the morning and then you can work out. That is a little judgy. It gives advice, and it does nothing to make the speaker feel heard and validated. And so to do a reflection, you might say something like, oh, you're feeling really tired and numb, and it sounds like you're really frustrated you haven't been able to work out. It sounds so obvious. It sounds like a duh factor. That's just what I said. But if you practice this skill and you become very good at it, and you weave it into conversations in your personal life and in your professional life, people won't notice. What they will notice is that you get them, that you're really listening, you're understanding what they're saying, and you will find that it will improve your professional and your personal life in many ways, and can be a strong foundation for more effective problem solving. So if you want more reading about this, I recommend these 3 books. Sharon Ellison's Taking the War Out of Words has a lot of great information about how to use non-defensive communication, not only reflections, but also good questions. There's also the classic How to Have Difficult Conversations, which can be very helpful in professional and personal contexts. And finally, Chris Voss's Never Split the Difference is very helpful. There's a chapter on emotional labeling, and Chris Voss is a former FBI hostage negotiator. And so he talks about how emotional labeling can be used in those kinds of very high emotional situations, as well as in other negotiating contexts. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and good luck trying reflective listening.